The Pioz Massacre, a Chronicle of Horror. August 17, 2016, a date etched in infamy. François Patrick Nogueira Gouveia committed an unspeakable act in Pioz, Spain. He murdered his uncle, Marcos Nogueira, his aunt, Janaína Diniz, and their two young children, Carolina and Davi. The tranquility of the small town was shattered. The family's disappearance raised concerns, but the true horror remained hidden for weeks. The silence was finally broken on September 18, 2016. Neighbors, disturbed by a foul odor, alerted the authorities. What they found was beyond comprehension. The dismembered bodies of the Nogueira family were discovered, stuffed into plastic bags. The Spanish police launched a full-scale investigation. The scene was gruesome, the details chilling. The hunt for the perpetrator began immediately. 2 days later, on September 20th, Patrick Gouveia boarded a plane back to Brazil. He left behind a scene of unimaginable carnage, unknowingly stepping into the crosshairs of an international investigation. His escape would be short-lived. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. October 4th, 2016. The Spanish authorities identified Patrick Gouveia as the prime suspect. An international arrest warrant was issued, setting in motion a complex legal and diplomatic process. The evidence pointed directly at him. 2 days later, Spain formally requested Brazilian authorities to detain Gouveia. Brazil, bound by its constitution, could not extradite him. However, they could prosecute him for the crimes committed abroad. Negotiations ensued. Gouveia, realizing the walls were closing in, made a calculated decision. On October 19, 2016, he surrendered to Spanish authorities. He was flown back to Spain to face justice. The investigation widened. Authorities began to examine Gouveia's network, seeking any potential accomplices. The focus shifted to Brazil, specifically to João Pessoa. On October 28, 2016, Marvin Henriques was arrested in João Pessoa. He was suspected of being an accomplice in the Pioz massacre, accused of providing support and guidance to Gouveia. The digital trail would prove crucial. As the investigation intensified, Gouveia's safety became a concern. On November 23, 2016, he was transferred from Alcalá Meco prison to Extremera prison. This move was prompted by credible death threats against him. The legal process took its course. On November 30, 2016, Marvin Henriques was released from prison. He was placed under provisional freedom with precautionary measures pending further investigation. His involvement remained under scrutiny. The search for answers delved into the mind of the killer. On December 12, 2016, a psychological report revealed disturbing findings. Patrick Gouveia exhibited psychopathic tendencies, a chilling insight into his mental state. The digital evidence continued to mount. On December 21, 2016, WhatsApp conversations between Patrick and Marvin were disclosed. These messages, relevant to the case in Paraíba, painted a disturbing picture of their relationship and the planning of the crime. As the year drew to a close, the victims were given a final farewell. On December 23, 2016, the remains of the murdered family were cremated in Spain. The ashes would eventually find their way back to their homeland. The new year brought a somber return. On January 12, 2017, the urns containing the ashes of the Nogueira family arrived in João Pessoa. They were finally laid to rest, bringing a semblance of closure to a grieving community. The legal battle continued on both sides of the Atlantic. On April 7, 2017, a Spanish court authorized the use of evidence collected by Brazilian authorities. This collaboration was crucial for building a solid case against Gouveia. The pain of the massacre reverberated through the family. On August 17, 2017, the grandmother of Patrick Gouveia and mother of Marcos Nogueira spoke publicly about the tragedy. Her words echoed the profound loss and devastation felt by all. The pursuit of justice remained relentless. On September 21, 2017, relatives of the victims requested the MPF, Federal Public Ministry, to send all collected evidence from Brazil to Spain. They sought to ensure that no stone was left unturned. The legal process moved forward. On February 8, 2018, a Spanish court dismissed new evidence and concluded the initial phase of Patrick Gouveia's legal process. The stage was set for the trial. The prosecution prepared its case. On March 6, 2018, the Spanish prosecutor requested a permanent arrest for Patrick Gouveia. They argued that his actions warranted the severest punishment. The wheels of justice turned slowly but surely. On May 23, 2018, the Spanish court set the dates for Patrick Gouveia's jury trial. The moment of reckoning was approaching. The trial was delayed, but the wait would soon be over. On July 24, 2018, the judge extended Patrick Gouveia's pre-trial detention until 2020. He remained in custody, awaiting his fate. The trial finally commenced on October 24, 2018. The world watched as the details of the Pioz massacre were laid bare. The evidence was presented, the witnesses testified, and the truth began to emerge. After days of intense deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. On November 3, 2018, Patrick Gouveia was found guilty of the murders. The weight of his crimes had finally caught up with him. The final act of justice was delivered on November 15, 2018. The judge sentenced Patrick Gouveia to life imprisonment. His reign of terror had come to an end. The trial was a complex and emotional affair. Over 65 people testified, including family members, police officers, forensic experts, and psychologists. Their testimonies painted a comprehensive picture of the crime and its aftermath. The jury's decision was based on overwhelming evidence. They determined that Patrick acted intentionally, rejecting claims of brain damage or diminished responsibility. His actions were deemed premeditated and malicious. The defense attempted to mitigate the sentence. They requested a 25-year sentence, citing alleged brain damage as a mitigating factor. However, the jury was not swayed by this argument. During the trial, Patrick offered an apology to the family. His words, however, rang hollow to many, given the magnitude of his crimes. The sincerity of his remorse was questioned. The prosecutor argued for the maximum penalty. They asserted that Patrick acted with tremendous evil and deserved permanent imprisonment. His actions were deemed so heinous that he should never be allowed to walk free again. Life imprisonment in Spain is not absolute. It is subject to review after 25 years, offering a glimmer of hope for potential parole. However, given the severity of his crimes, Gouveia's chances of release remain slim. The sentence reflected the gravity of his actions. Patrick received 3 life sentences for the deaths of his cousins and Uncle Marcos. He also received a 25-year sentence for the murder of Janaína. The case revealed a tragic irony. Patrick's initial dream was to become a professional football player in Europe. He had even lived in England and Portugal before moving to Spain. A knee injury derailed his aspirations. This setback prevented him from pursuing his football career, leading him down a different path. The frustration and disappointment may have contributed to his downward spiral. The family had tried to help him. His uncle Walfran Campos asked Marcos to help Patrick with his knee treatment in Spain. This act of kindness was repaid with unimaginable betrayal. The Pioz massacre stands as a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human heart.